John is here. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so the first item is election of officers. At this time, nominations are now in order for the office of chair. Are there any nominations?
Nominate John Carter.
John Carter's been nominated for the office of chair. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Are there any other nominations? If there are no further nominations, the nominations for the office of chair are now closed, and John Carter is voted in by acclamation. I'll now open nominations for the office of vice chair. Are there any nominations for the office of vice chair?
I'll nominate Ann Peterson.
Ann Peterson's been nominated for the office of vice chair. Is there any other nominations for the office of vice chair? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right. I'll close nominations for the office of vice chair, and Ann Peterson's elected by acclamation. I'll now open the nominations for the office of clerk. Are there any nominations for the office of clerk?
Nominate Brenda Olson.
It's a nomination for Brenda Olson for the office of clerk. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for the office of clerk? If there are no further nominations, I'll close the nominations for clerk, and Brenda Olson is elected by acclamation. And we'll now open the nominations for the office of treasurer. Are there any nominations for the office of treasurer?
Nominate Brittany Dawkins.
Are there any other Brittany Dawkins been nominated for the office of treasurer? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll close the nominations for office of treasurer, and Brittany Dawkins is elected by acclamation. All right, moving on to the appointment of committees. There's two committees. We'll talk about the finance, personnel, and facility committees next. I don't remember who, you have a list of these?
So before we had three committees. So
Okay.
what we're looking at, what we talked about in the district office was if you're going to make, help with decisions with the personnel and facilities, it would be good to know the finances. So we thought combining those two would be good. Before we had the finance committee, a policy committee, and a personnel committee. So we're looking to combine finance and personnel. If you want three separate committees, we can do that, or we can have two. So before it was in the finance, Brittany, Brenda, and John. Policy committee was Greg, Molly, and Ann. Personnel was Greg, Brittany, Brenda, and then John would sub in.
Okay. So for finance committee, Brittany, Brenda, do you guys want
Sure.
to serve again?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Be part of negotiations, but we don't negotiate this year.
I don't know, did you talk to John to see if he would be interested at all in
I
that?
did not. Probably good to have the chair on the finance one because he's so involved in a lot of decision making.
Yep, I would agree. And then policy committee, looks like Greg and Molly and myself.
And you were the three before.
And I'm fine with that. You guys?
Yep.
don't think we have to vote on that, so. All right. The next item up is to approve the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda? Is there any changes?
No additions or changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
All right, I have a motion by Brittany. Can I get a second?
Second.
A second by Greg. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. And an opportunity for visitors to address the board. Visitors may not discuss or share any private or personal data at a school board meeting. Any student, program, or personnel concerns must be first brought to the appropriate building administrator to be resolved. You haven't gotten anything anyways. Moving on, acknowledgements. AAA award winners, Sam Moe and Corey Stephenson. Mr. Wilson.
No, he's done yet.
So congratulations to the AAA award winners. And we'll move on to the consent items. Item A is to approve the board minutes for December 20th, 2021, regular meeting. Item B, financial claims, December bills. Item C, treasurer's report. Item D, accept donations. Play project, $655, Samtastic. Viking Elementary School, $25 in memory of Bonnie Christensen, Donna and Diane Erickson. Thanks for those. Item E, personnel. Approve the resignation of Ryan Severson as junior high boys basketball coach. Approve the resignation of Abby Mooney as assistant girls soccer coach. Approve the resignation of Andy Rarick as junior high track coach. Approve the hire of Heidi Eisman as junior high boys basketball coach. Approve the hire of Mariah Harms as special education paraprofessional at Viking Elementary School. And approve the hire of Cassie Klofstead as part-time special education paraprofessional at Viking Elementary School. And approve the hire of Amy Heide as part-time special education paraprofessional at Viking Elementary School. If there are not any items requiring discussion, I'll entertain a motion for the consent items.
I make a motion to approve the consent items as listed.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Is that Brittany? All right, a motion and a second for the consent items. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to the business items. Item A, approve the choir senior trip for 2022. We had a presentation last month. I don't know, is there any changes or?
Nope, just a reminder, the trip is to Branson, Missouri. The dates are March 28th to April 1st. And of course, we'll be watching with both trips, the New York City trip and the Missouri trip, the band and the choir trip, we'll be watching things closely, monitoring as we move forward here.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the choir senior trip for 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the choir senior trip 2022.
A motion by Brittany, is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Molly, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item B, approve the resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling places will remain open for school district elections not held on the day of a statewide election. Is there anything that goes along with that that we need to know prior?
No, it pretty much says it all, that it's for a non-statewide election that combines all the townships, and it'll be held at the city hall.
City Hall?
Yep. And this is yearly, done yearly.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the resolution.
I make a motion to approve the resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling places will remain open for school district elections not held on the day of the statewide election.
Okay, there's a motion by Brenda, is there a second?
I'll second.
Brittany?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, Greg, how do you resolve?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Brittany? Yes. Molly?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Resolution carries. And item C, approve the resolution for the bid for the abatement bond.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we've been working on selling public debt through an abatement bond to construct enhance our facilities. This morning, when the market opened at 6 a.m. our time, we immediately received 3 bidders, which were very competitive. Interest rates did increase a little bit from what we had forecasted to what the actual bids happened. We had forecasted back in December interest rate on the bid at 1.43%. The final lowest bidder came in at 1.47%. It's not material, it only adds an additional $1,000 in interest to the $1.4 million bond. Baker Tilly recommends that we take the lowest bidder, which was BOK Financial Securities, and they were only within 7 basis points of our forecasted. So again, very strong, very competitive. Our bid was the lowest bid. Our value of our bond was the lowest one in the market today, so to receive really strong offers is very good. The best thing about this part, which Baker Tilly wants me to highlight for you guys, is regarding our credit rating. In preparation for the sale of the bond, we have had to go through substantial financial analysis with Standard & Poor's, for which Standard & Poor's upgraded us from a negative A or an A negative credit rating to a AAA, stable, strong outlook, which pretty much says that we are very strong financially and recognizes the good work that the district has done with its finances over the last several years. So we have one of the strongest credit rating. We even have a stronger credit rating than the state, which is really good to be in. So with that, I recommend that you guys accept the lowest bid, for which will be highlighted in the resolution.
Do we have to call the bidder out at all for the,
No, you can just go ahead and summarize and
okay. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the resolution for the bid for the abatement bond and certification of minutes related to 1.43 million general obligation tax abatement bond series 2022A.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the bid for the abatement bond.
And a motion by Molly, and I'll second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion?
Do we need to make reference to was it Baker Tilly? I'm sorry.
No, the bond, the resolution of the bond is completely directly related to the sale of the bond and approving the lowest bidder, which was BOK Financial Securities.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, this is a resolution. Greg, how do you resolve?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Brittany?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Resolution carries. We'll move on to the administrative reports. The first one up is the finance director, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you. So January was a busy month, but the majority of the busyness had to do with preparation of the selling of the bond, including all those legal paperwork completed. Now that we've sold the bond, things are going to start to quiet down a little bit. Overall, it was a pretty good month in terms of our operations and cash flow management. We started our investments with $5 million in our investments. We received about $775,000 in state aid, which brought our final investments to $5.8 million. Total accounts payable for the month were $738,000. Payroll for the month was $359,000, giving us cash on hand $132,000. We have very good investments. Big rocks that we have coming up next month is we have our bond payment coming up at the end of January, for which we pay our building bond and all of our other bonds that we have outstanding, which will be a total of close to $2 million. So we're gonna see a little bit of a decrease in our overall investment by the end of next month, but we're sitting really well in terms of our cash. Other than that, we now have a federal insurance banking account, so no longer for a collateral report. Adjustment journal entries on page 2 is simply cleaning up the books to make sure that the month matches the books. And then all of our payables are on pages through 6. Other than that, any questions that you guys have regarding our financial report or the sale of the bond? Okay, so now that we've sold the bond, we're going to receive the proceeds in February. Mr. Corp and Mr. Steves will start finalizing design and all the other neat things about the project, so we can be shovel ready by late spring.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Moving on to item B, Superintendent High School Principal Report. Mr. Corp.
Okay, high school enrollment, we're at 415 students. We started the year off with 420 students. January 17th, staff workshop day. Will be a busy day. We'll have our department meetings. We'll start planning for next year. And we work with each department, Mrs. Siebels and I, and we talk about a number of items from class offerings to curriculum to purchases and number of items just to get us ready and start thinking about next year. PLCs will be held that day too, Professional Learning Communities. Willow Sweeney will be with us. She'll be live via Zoom and working with our groups, our 3 PLC teams. Parent-teacher conferences are on February 28th. They'll be held in the Legends Gymnasium. That will be from 12 o'clock to 6 p.m. COVID dashboard, just a little update. We, over break, coming back from break, we had a few positive cases in our staff. Right now, we feel we're okay with staffing, as a number of them will be coming back this week. So we're monitoring closely our positive cases among staff and students. Students right now, positive cases is good. So Mrs. Lennis feels comfortable with our students. We're starting to get a little concerned with staff. As long as we don't have a few more that go out, we should be okay. Last Friday, I think it was Friday, we were shuffling a little bit with our substitutes, but we made it work. Safe Routes to School grant. We've been working with the city on applying for a grant, which will help with the safety of students who walk or bike to school. Looking at our sidewalks, hopefully this grant we can get, and that will help improve our sidewalks, bike racks, things like that. ISD 548 staff informational meetings were held on January 3rd through the 6th. We held those meetings. School board members, administration were there, and we presented to our staff why we are looking at transitioning to the 5-day. We're also taking questions, and they are providing those questions to Mrs. Siebels, and then she's passing them on to me, and then we were trying to answer them at the informational meeting. So we had a meeting on January 3rd that was held in the Fine Arts, and then on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. we held that at the elementary band room. We had good attendance, good questions, good concerns, good feedback. So I thought they were good. OSHA, just a quick update on OSHA. OSHA's looking at the ETS, which is the emergency temporary standard that they're trying to push through the federal courts. It's in the federal courts right now. What the ETS would be, it's emergency temporary standard. It's just temporary, is what we're hoping. And what that is some guidelines that we would have to follow through OSHA. We've started collecting who has been vaccinated, vaccination cards. We've started that process. If it does go through, starting on February 9th, People that are not vaccinated would have to mask and then have weekly testing. That'd be once a week, once every 7 days, if that goes through. It's in the courts right now, so. I hear some people say it's not gonna go through, I hear some people say it's gonna go through, so we'll just be patient and wait. If it goes through, then we'll have to look at our timeline. We possibly would have to have a special meeting to approve the policy that would be in place for that. If it doesn't go through, we'll keep moving along. Okay? Student representatives, we had students here at the last board meeting, and they would like to have students representing the board, which would be a non-voting member. We've had this in the past. They've sat on the side, and we've asked them questions if needed, and they've shared information. What I'd like to talk to you about, if we'd like to go down that road, it's for a year, it's for a school year, so it starts, July to July is what it'll be, so we're almost half done. We can start here and open it up, take applications. People fill application out to apply for a position. In the past, we've had one senior, one junior, and so we take applications that we've worked with MSBA. Mrs. Evanson has researched that, and we can put something together. We've started something already. Kids would fill that out, and then we'd have a committee that would select the senior and junior if we want to go that route. With the senior this year, they just got a couple months left. I don't know how much interest, but if we do get some interest, I know seniors have a chance at getting a scholarship, so. The other thing too is we would have to come up with expectations, things, at the meetings, what the responsibilities are, things like that. So that's what I'm looking for is feedback if you're interested in having student representatives on our school board, part of our school board.
I'd like to see it. I'd
Yeah.
like to see freshmen and sophomores have an opportunity to have a representative on it as well. Just because I think it'd be nice to get that introduction earlier rather than later for the students, and I think they'd get a lot more out of it. And, maybe stay engaged, not necessarily as a representative throughout their high school careers, but maybe attending meetings, things like that. If you think having 4 representatives is too cumbersome, or there's too many moving parts, I understand that too, but I'd really like to see it back in place, and I'd really like to consider opening it up for 1 representative per class, 9 through 12. But not certainly digging my heels in for that being a necessity. That's just what I'd like to see.
Does our current policy state an age range?
I was just gonna see if Emily had it
Let me
up.
pull it out.
Yeah.
And then if it states to how many,
I think it did state junior and senior, but
I only remember 2 at one time.
yeah,
But we still have the discretion.
Yeah,
We just have to change.
we have to change.
we just have to
policy.
change policy.
And I think to do that, we'd have to probably have a 1 and 2 read.
Is anybody interested in that, opening up that much, or how does everybody else feel of limiting it just to juniors and seniors? That's my initial thought was, I think of this year, I think it's good to get a senior on board, but they're gonna have a shorter time frame. But even if it is a senior, by the time, it takes a while to just let stuff marinate and digest. And I think the impact could be much more meaningful on a younger student being exposed to it earlier in the game, just in terms of how they think of things globally when it comes to public school and how it's operated and how decisions get made and things like that.
I think opening up to sophomores isn't a bad idea. I guess I look at it more as more of a senior high thing. Does it 9th grade consider still junior high?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
I'm super flexible on that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm just really behind this 9th, 10th. I'd really like to see it if it doesn't create too much practical difficulty.
I think 4 would be a little much. But I'm not saying it has to be two different age, I don't know.
Historically, when they've served, do they just serve for 1 year, or does the juniors stay on throughout their, they stay?
Yep, they have. I don't know if that's something that we bring forward or not. I don't know if it says in the policy.
Does not.
Doesn't say ages or grades or anything, just says 2.
Oh, it doesn't even specify that.
Okay. Seems like everybody is in favor of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Clark?
I think that's my last item.
All right. Upcoming meetings, there's the MSBA conference this week, January 13th, 14th. February 14th is the regular meeting, and March 21st is a regular meeting. And that moves to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.